Okay, on that score, is it tantamount upon you to give the customer sufficient information as regards providing effective or efficient KYC, as you put it, so that they know from beforehand that these are some of the expectations that you require, correspondent banks require, in order to to minimize risk.
Well, the basic thing is to make sure that we identify the customer who says who he is, and the basic, I mean, the identity, the certain documents which you take. So when the customer comes to register, we will say, please provide these documents.
Yeah.
It's not very onerous kind of document, just basic documents to make sure the person who is in front of us is the person who says he is.
Mm-hmm.
And the underlying transaction is what the transaction he says it is.
Okay. Especially small business, because what we have found is that, you know, especially SMEs, small business, people now starting up doing another banking transaction. Sometimes they find these requests not onerous, but they want to get a little more information on expectations. Yeah, and that is really the core of the question. Is it something? I'm sure you have ongoing information forums where you could get SMEs. I'm sure we'll talk about that going in the future and engage them and say, okay, if you're doing business, these are the sort of things you need to, you know, to have in place, which makes your job easier and the client is more informed. And of course, with the regulators at the end of the day, will be less nervous, because they know that you are kind of the right sort of checks and balances and systems to ensure that everything remains kosher.
The documents which we require from any SME or an individual is no different from that from those documents which they will provide to their bankers. Period. So there is not onerous documents. It will, I mean, if you go to open an account, what documents would you need? You wouldn't ask anything more than that.
Okay. Now, taking the conversation a bit further now, you deal with SMEs on a large scale, you know, globally and of course in the Caribbean. So this is a good opportunity to tap from you do's and don'ts, and of course some of the pitfalls that you have seen some of these SMEs, particularly in our diaspora, Leonard, who struggle for a number of reasons, and transactional as part of also how they structure the business, and of course banking and finance is a critical part of it, the critical part of any business success. What sort of we want you to give some takeaways here. What sort of items of failures you see coming up in front of you on a continuous basis that you can share with potential small business that can minimize failure going forward?
Well, I can relate to some of the problems with regard to money transfer to Jamaica. I cannot at this moment tell you.
Oh, Leonard's frozen.
Yes.
He's moving slowly.
From London to Birmingham to Leeds. But most of the SMEs which we deal with are those customers who bring import stuff, fruit stuff, and other things from Jamaica and who have to make payments. Yes. So in that aspect, what happens is instantaneous. So if a customer comes and wants to get down a key or something, they come in the morning and make the payment through us in the morning, and the money is with the supplier instantaneously. Right. So if he makes the order and makes the payment today, the supplier can ship the goods at the same time, the same flight commercial bank or anybody can offer, because it takes a couple of days.
Okay.
And it's cheaper to send to to send money because, as you know, we only send money to our NCB customers. So they know that once the money is come, money has been sent to us, the money will be in goods. In UK, that's a different matter altogether because SMEs, the problems which SMEs face is no different from in London that from in Kingston. Different conversation altogether. How they keep books, how they business continuity, how they take facilities. All those things matter because SMEs are not sophisticated employers or businessmen. So that's a different discussion. We will not be able to touch today.
Yeah.
But as far as money transfer is concerned, if any customer wants to say import stuff from Jamaica, I think we offer the best way forward. And this is a positive on their cash flow because they don't have to block their cash flow for a couple of days.
Okay. So as far as you're concerned, this whole issue that has been raised and been spoken highly about in the media and by prime ministers and finance guru is all more scaremongering, scare tactics, is it?
It's not. No. I don't want to downplay that, but there are probably institutions which have been affected, which has large clienteles. So. I'm sure there are institutions which have been affected, and that those institutions rightly are making their position known. But to say that because of these measures taken by these correspondent banks, that the entire economy of some of these countries are going under the sea, no, that will not happen.
Okay. And finally, before we cut, just a question on my mind is that I think that this can provide, and again, based on the topic of our program and the byline, beyond remittance, I think it's a good opportunity that, well, don't look at it that way, but when these things happen, you get an opportunity to think outside the box, to be more creative, to be more dynamic in how you do your business. Would this be an opportunity you will see in disguise?
Yes, it's an opportunity because when you have a stronger bank, NCB is a strong financial institution. We have the best corporate governance, which I have seen in that many places. We have a excellent KYC and an AML regime. That's the reason why most of the banks are showing confidence in NCB and its subsidiaries. So yes, we probably will have an opportunity here, but we are not going to kind of change our business model to grab any of the businesses which, if at all, fall through. No, we will make sure our primary objective is to service National Commercial Bank customers, and that is our main objective. We are not a money transfer company. We are a subsidiary of National Commercial Bank, based in UK, and our main objective is to support those customers, support exports out of Jamaica, and we'll continue to do that. And that's our clientele. That is the clientele we are going to service.
Leonard, thanks a lot for that. I mean, it has been very informative. I think it was very dynamic, and I can see some important takeaways here, Nigel.
Yeah.
The importance that just to recap, Leonard, the fact that we're looking at this thing beyond remittance. You have added a whole new freshness to the conversation, unlike most others who are looking to doom and gloom. So from that perspective, I think this was a very insightful discussion.
Before we move on, Dennis, I mean, you sent me a couple of articles which I saw, but has this become a huge discussion point? Because I don't see that discussion so so much in UK so far, but has it become a big issue?
It has become a big issue, as you can see from some of the articles. The prime ministers are writing about it of Antigua, and so a lot of the OACS countries, a lot of the Caribbean countries are talking about it. So maybe in the UK, it may not be as a massive issue than getting out of the EU, for instance. But definitely in our part of the world, as you can see from the articles, when a prime minister is making that a top priority, and a number of people in that kind of ilk, it is a big issue.
And it's not just the Caribbean diaspora alone, the African diaspora and Indian diaspora are also talking a bit about it because, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty around this. When there's change, there's uncertainty. So people aren't entirely sure how this would affect them in sending money back to their families or paying for things back home or in their home countries. So, of course, you're providing some much needed clarification on this issue. For a lot of people, this won't have a significant effect. And even if it does, there are alternatives. But the conversation so far, a big part of it is, as Dennis said, doom and gloom. So you've already provided a new perspective on the issue.
Yeah, but I think going forward, there will be a distinct distinction between institutions and financial institutions which are governed properly, and institutions which the correspondence banks are not happy with. Period. These are the two distinctions that's going to take place.
Right.
All these years, I think we have been having a kind of a regime where everybody was doing business, and there was not much of pressure from stakeholders.
Yes.
Today it's different.
Yeah.
So going forward, there will be whether it's I'm not going to I can't talk. I'm not qualified to talk about Antigua or Trinidad or Barbados, but I can talk about Jamaica. I think Jamaica will continue to have avenues to receive the remittances without any hindrance.
Great.
Great, Leonard. Of course, as you know, this is an ongoing series, so we'll be dealing with different perspectives in terms of investment and trade, and NCB being one of the big players in the Caribbean, there are so many different components of NCB that covers the wide spectrum of investment and banking that we, from time to time, we would seek clarification, and of course to hear how you're getting on and how we can engage in assisting the education process and the development process of Caribbean business and investment going forward. So we really appreciate your time, Leonard, and as Nigel said, to add clarity to this thing and to bring a perspective that I think is well needed.
Yeah.
And we are just a conduit. We are just messengers, Leonard, just to give you a perspective, and we are here to engage with experts and get more information and get clarity so we can assist the region in developing their investment portfolio, the banking relationship, and create dynamics in terms of the enterprise network, which is what we are, Caribbean Enterprise Network, and sticking with that vision. So it's exciting to have this and to have you here and to share those invaluable information and views and takeaways with us. So thanks again on behalf of Sin, and Nigel, of course, will have some closing items on that.
Well, again, just to echo Dennis, thanks again. And we'd love to have you back on again as we deal with other financial issues, because we have a big trade and investment segment coming up a bit later on that will probably coincide with Diaspora Week. And having a discussion with you in terms of financial issues that affect exporters would be a great discussion for us to hold around that time period.
Another key area to end the point is that, as you're well aware, the Jamaica Stock Exchange has been voted the best performing exchange in the world last year, which brings a whole dynamics to the whole area of opportunities in investment and scaling that, not only from Jamaica perspective, but from the Caribbean region's perspective. And that's another area we'll be looking to go into to just, again, to add clarity, to inform and educate and get people to understand the dynamics of that and how the diaspora and the global market, looking at the Caribbean, because we are all about that, and the Caribbean interests could help to leverage that and to build our region going forward. And that's a massive one for us. The fact that it's like Usain Bolt winning the gold medal again. You know, we have a number one in the world, and again Jamaica. So you know, it's interesting. It's interesting. As Nigel said, going forward, it promises to be of great interest, and we know that we're already getting a lot of traction for this, what we're doing here, because it's a massive need, as you can see, a massive need for that sort of information and dissemination of information and perspectives from people who are in the know. So, you know, we sometimes we take half-baked things and it becomes a reality. You know how it is, Leonard.
Yes.
So it's important to get people like yourself who are sort of expert, have many years experiences in this, not only in the region but globally, to give us the real spin on what's happening. So we're speaking from a position of strength and the experts in the field. So thanks once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
All right, take care. All right, thanks. Bye.